Vanessa, thanks so much for your time. For those not following this debate, leading journalists such as the Australian's Paul Kelly have said this is a dangerous time for religious schools. Why is that?
Well, that's exactly right, Lyle. It is extremely concerning that the Australian Law Reform Commission put out a report, a set of recommendations that would ultimately make it very difficult for Christian and other religious schools to continue operating as genuine faith-based communities. For us, it's fundamental that we're able to employ staff who share our beliefs, can teach our beliefs. And we do need protections in discrimination law to be able to do that, so that we're not accused of discrimination when we choose to employ a Christian bus driver or a Christian maths teacher or a Christian principal. We want all staff to be sharing the beliefs on the same page, but those protections that we currently enjoy, the ALRC has threatened or recommended to the government to remove those. And so that's why we are coming out so strongly against these recommendations and imploring the government to not enact those recommendations and ensure that Christian schools can continue to be Christian schools.
Why do you think the government, and this is in large part driven by the Attorney-General Mark Dreyfus, why do you think they want to take away this freedom from Christian schools to employ staff who are exclusively Christian and who will uphold the value of the schools?
Well, it all comes down to discrimination law and this idea that you can't discriminate against people. Well, for us, we don't see it as discrimination to choose to employ people who share our faiths and beliefs. We currently do have exemptions within those laws, and discrimination, I guess, it has a very negative connotations. But the Christian faith is about loving people, sharing the good news of Jesus with the students who are coming to our schools. But to do that, we do need to be able to choose to employ people who share our beliefs. So for us, it's not about discrimination, it's about that positive choice. And, that's what parents are paying for when they send their children to a Christian school. I myself have 5 children, and I've chosen to send them to a Christian school, and I expect that staff would be modelling those beliefs, sharing those beliefs. Otherwise, what's the point? What's the point of calling yourself a Christian school if you can't deliver for parents what they're actually choosing and paying for?
Yeah, and I guess, the point that you and others made at those brilliant town hall meetings that we saw in the opening clip was that if people don't agree with those views, there's plenty of other schools where they can go and work.
Absolutely. Nobody is forced to send their child to a Christian school. Nobody's forced to agree with the Christian beliefs. I wouldn't personally send my children to an Islamic school or a Jewish school because that's not aligned to my family's beliefs and faith heritage. So this is all about protecting diversity and freedom of choice within the educational sector. It's a good thing that we can have Christian schools, Jewish, Islamic state schools, independent schools that don't have a particular faith perspective. That's a good thing for Australia. So we think the government should be protecting that diversity and allowing schools and parents ultimately to have that choice for their children. And so why would the government be looking to remove those exemptions that schools rely upon when it already does work quite well?
Now, during the same-sex marriage campaign back in 2017 and the years leading up to that, and of course during 2017 when that plebiscite went through, marriage was changed and the law moved against a Christian view of marriage and a Christian view of gender, even a scientific view of gender. We were then promised religious freedom protections. Both sides of politics have promised that. Why do you think it's been almost impossible for that to have been delivered? Here we are almost 6 years after the change to the marriage laws, and yet the victors in the same-sex marriage campaign, now rebadged Equality Australia, continue to try and wage legal action against Christian schools. Why is it so difficult to provide the protections that have been promised?
That's a good question, Lyle. I don't know the answer, to be honest. I think it's very reasonable what we're asking for. These are traditional beliefs that Christians have held for millennia. Our schools have always held to traditional beliefs around marriage and their understanding of sexuality and gender. So this is not new for us. We understand society has changed and the law has changed, and we respect that. We respect that not everybody agrees with the Christian beliefs. But what we're finding is concerning is that respect doesn't go both ways, that there's a lack of respect for Christians holding to their traditional beliefs and for Christian schools to continue teaching those. And that's all we're asking for, is the ability to employ staff who share those beliefs, teach those beliefs. And again, it's a concern that in this modern society, 2024, that tolerance and respect it doesn't go both ways.
Yeah, you talk about society seemingly changing, but I think there's probably many mainstream Australians, probably a majority, who would think it's totally reasonable for a Christian school to be able to teach traditional beliefs about marriage and scientific views about gender without the threat of litigation, which is, of course, where we are now. But this brings me to the wonderful town hall meetings that you've been having. Again, we showcased that in that clip that you guys produced. It was brilliant. I was at the Sydney meeting at Regent's Park the other week. 700 people there. You had amazing testimonials from staff, from students, from parents. I just sat there thinking, why would any government want to destroy these beautiful schools which are doing so much good?
Oh, that's great feedback. And that was the goal of these town halls. What we realised is that parents sending their children to Christian schools or any schools weren't aware of these potential changes to the law. And so we wanted to let our community know about the threat that is coming through today's ALRC recommendations. So we've organised these town hall events, 6 around the country. We've been overwhelmed by the response. 800 at our first town hall event in Brisbane, 700 at the event you were at in Sydney. We had nearly 400 in Perth. Next week, we're in Tasmania and Melbourne with, again, capacity crowds booking up fast. And then Adelaide next month. But we really wanted to showcase, I guess, the positive contribution our schools are making to the community. There are myths that are circulated sometimes in the media that our schools are looking to discriminate against students and staff or expel students based on their sexuality. And that couldn't be furthest from the truth, Lyle. Our schools, as you know, are places where children are loved, accepted, and seen, as made in the image of God. And we want to continue sharing that good news in our schools, but also beyond our schools to our local community. And I think the stories that were shared, at each of those town hall events, we had parents, teachers and students sharing from the heart how Christian education has transformed their lives. And we really wanted the politicians to hear some of those messages because that's what's under threat here. If these laws are changed, we can't continue to being genuine Christian schools. Well, there's a great deal of good that could be lost.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was terrific to see Senator Michaelia Cash, former Attorney General, and Senator Sarah Henderson, the current Shadow Education Minister, at the Sydney meeting, and I'm sure at others, speaking so strongly. The issue's now at a stalemate, and I think that's in large part due to the incredibly successful campaign that yourself and your allies in the Christian school sector have waged. You've done a great job at raising public awareness through the media. It seems like the Prime Minister has balked at pulling the trigger to execute Christian schools. Where to from here?
Well, today, actually, Mark Spencer from Christian Schools Australia and a group of parents and concerned staff are at Parliament House about to deliver 1,500 postcards that will be hand-delivered to the Prime Minister from these town hall events, where we're reminding him of that commitment that's being made to faith leaders, where he said that faith communities wouldn't go backwards while he is Prime Minister. Now, we're not sure exactly what that means, not going backwards. We would prefer to go forwards, to be honest, but it was a good commitment to say that we wouldn't lose protections, and we want to remind him of that commitment that was made through the delivery of 1,500 postcards from Brisbane, Sydney, Perth. And so, yes, this time now is really critical, and I'd ask your viewers to consider, if they haven't already, to be writing letters themselves to the Prime Minister or to their local member saying, please protect Christian schools, and attend. We've got 3 more town hall events coming up next week and next month, Melbourne, Tasmania and Adelaide, to get along and to hear what's at stake and what they can do to help us in this fight.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more, and would certainly urge people to go to those remaining meetings. Vanessa, where can people go to get information about this campaign, and where they can find tools where they can send those sort of letters or emails to our parliamentarians?
We've developed a campaign platform between 3 Christian school associations, representing over 300 Christian schools around the country, and it's called mychristianschool.au. So www.mychristianschool.au. If you go to that site, you can register for one of the upcoming town hall events, which I encourage you to do. We really need to send a strong message to government about how concerned our community is about these issues. And you can also there send a message very easily to the Prime Minister or to your local member, because politicians do need to be reminded that this is a real issue of concern for their community.
That's mychristianschool.au. I'd encourage everyone to go there. This is the fight of our lives. First, they came for the Christian schools. They will not stop there. It's important that you guys win this. Vanessa Cheng from the Australian Association of Christian Schools, thanks so much for being with us today.